Hello, everyone. I want to record this video because I really would love to explain why I think our intuition is so valuable and why I'm going to be framing my Reiki training as this intuitive integration, us really building a relationship with our intuition, clearing blocks to our intuition, connecting and trusting our intuition. And the reason why this is something that's really important to me is because of the experience I had in terms of my separation and my divorce. And so I'm going to tell the story about my separation and my divorce, what led up to that, and also like where my intuition was playing a role and where ignoring my intuition was playing a role, to really sort of put forth why I will be teaching Reiki with an intuitive twist, like with the focus on really channeling and clearing our access to our intuition, because it's been a game changer for me. And so the story about my separation and my divorce goes like this. So I was with my ex-husband for 11 years. And I would say about 4 years ago, I started to feel very emotionally disconnected from him, emotionally detached. I was feeling sort of rejected, neglected emotionally from him. And I would bring this forward and say, hey, I'm not feeling happy. Maybe we can do some things to connect emotionally. And I bought like different couples board games, tried to plan date nights, tried to encourage him to plan date nights. We even did couples therapy to really try to figure out like what the disconnect was, because when I would bring this forth to him, he would say that he was fine. He didn't really notice anything. And I was like, how are you not noticing this? So it was kind of put back on me as if like it's just you, it's not me. I'm fine. I'm perfectly content with how things are. But me feeling very emotionally disconnected, like there was something that was missing. And as I was trying to bring this forward to him, it was just invalidated and not really taken seriously, and it was kind of treated as it was just me. And so I was like, okay, you know what, let me go do my own healing, and as I'm healing, maybe this will improve. So I did went into my own therapy, and as I would bring that back into the relationship, it was still the same. There was still the emotional disconnect. There was still sort of that like defensive piece of like pushing it back onto me. And this invalidation, this experience really causes us to have confusion in our intuition. We're feeling something and then it's being denied or it's being invalidated, and it causes us to be really confused about like what is true, then what is real, because the feeling itself doesn't go away. It's still there. And so during this time as well, I started to have reoccurring dreams that my husband was being unfaithful. So I would say probably for 6 months straight, I would just have the same reoccurring dream that my husband was cheating. And I would literally put my head on the pillow, boom, I was in the dream. And then I would wake myself out of the dream and say, okay, Chanel, like, why are you keep having this dream? And I was kind of chalking it off to, I'm just being insecure. I'm just being jealous or whatever. And again, invalidating my intuition. It was showing up constantly, it was reoccurring, and I would just invalidate it and just chalk it off to there's no way that he would ever do that. It must be me, which is another thing that continuously came up. And so I would ask him about it. Hey, I'm having these dreams. And he obviously would say, I would never do that. That's crazy. Like, it's just a dream, like it's just, that's not a real thing. And I was like, you're right. Like I definitely in my conscious mind thought he would never do that. So I just was like, this is just something that's happening because of my own insecurities. I even found some like journal entries that I was kind of reflecting back about the dreams after. And all of them I was like reflecting on, this must be something about my insecurities. So again, I'm the problem, ignore my intuition, go work on, my insecurities, which was still helpful. And so again, that dream was happening every 6 months. I would wake myself out of the dream and then I would go back to sleep and I would be in the exact same moment of a dream that I had just like woken myself out of. 6 months of that went by. Of just me saying, okay, this is just my own insecurities, my own doubts. This is not happening. There's no way this is happening. And then we went to Jamaica as a family. And while we're in Jamaica, again, I was feeling very disregarded, very emotionally ignored, very unloved, unseen. And I was, again, very confused because I was bringing this forward. And it was almost like he just kind of was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so I was like, I don't know what's happening here. So then I went to off by myself for a moment, and I went to the edge of the water and I spoke to the sky, to the universe, and I said, God, universe, I need help to be released from this iteration of my relationship. I don't know what is going on. I've tried therapy, I've tried my own therapy, I've tried talking, I've tried all the things. Nothing is changing. I need help. I need to be released from this iteration of the relationship. And I kind of left that prayer out there and then carried on my trip. And then fast forward, a few months later, we ended up going to Tulum for my ex-husband's birthday and for his 30th. And then again, it was the energies were off. You know, a couple months before that, I had taken him to get his aura picture read to kind of try to show him what I was feeling from him because he wasn't listening to my words. I was like, let me show him a picture of like, this is what I'm feeling from you. Your energy feels down, and I'm wanting you to see that. Even the aura picture, he kind of, it was very clear, you know, I'll attach the picture to this video. It was very clear that the energy was obviously off, but again, he didn't want to really look at it. And then again, it left me feeling very confused and invalidated. And so we went to Tulum, and as we're there, arguing for no reason, and then, you know, random synchronicities started happening. We got there, a friend of my ex-husband's messaged and said, hey, you're in Tulum, like I live here now. And he happened to be like in the Airbnb basically beside us. So we were supposed to meet him for breakfast the one morning. And so we went to go to the breakfast spot, and we had just missed him or something. And there was a QR code for a tarot reading. And I was like, I'm definitely doing a tarot reading while I'm in Tulum, like 100% that's happening. So I scanned the QR code, booked my tarot reading, booked my ex-husband's tarot reading, and our tarot readings are the next day. And so we go the next day, do the tarot reading. Off the bat, the day is already starting off with like animosity. And it all feels like it's just like directed at me, like it's something that I'm doing that's causing this experience. And so again, confusion, frustration, just not understanding what's happening. And then we go to our tarot readings, and I go first, and the tarot reading was sort of like kind of general. It made sense to me, but it didn't really hit, like it wasn't very clear. I didn't get the clarity that I was looking for in the tarot reading. And then my ex-husband went to do his tarot reading, and then we started to walk home, and we were on, or walk back to the Airbnb. So we were on our bikes, just walking our bikes at this point. And then suddenly my ex-husband stops and starts to tear up. And I was like, okay, like we're going to break through, like we're going to have an emotional breakthrough, like something is going to happen and something is going to make sense. And then he just, in that moment, confesses, I have cheated on you. I have been cheating on you. And I was not expecting that whatsoever. I was genuinely shocked in that moment. And I felt my system just like go into shock and then like recalibrate to almost like bring me back to like present so I could like handle what was happening. So I just wanted to insert a piece here because I missed a very important part that kind of ties this all together. So what my ex-husband had told me afterwards was that his tarot reading, basically all the cards and what the tarot reader had said to him was that he was holding such an overwhelming amount of guilt and shame that he said he wasn't even really like aware of. Like he wasn't really aware that he was holding this guilt and shame. But when she said it, he was kind of like, that's why I've been feeling so shitty, basically. But when she told him, basically was, if you don't do something about this, like this guilt and shame is going to destroy you, basically. So in the tarot reading, she basically said, the overwhelming amount of guilt and shame that you're feeling, if you do not address this, it's going to destroy you. And so that's sort of what led him to confessing in that moment. He had said he had no plans of telling me that. He had no plans of confessing that. And he had said himself that he wasn't really even connecting the fact that he was feeling badly to feeling shame and guilt until she had brought that into his awareness. And he was like, okay, this is making sense. So I just wanted to put that piece in there because it also kind of makes sense to more intuitive pieces of the tarot reader and her intuition, how she was able to tap into what he was feeling. And then also the disconnect that he had with himself, that he wasn't even really noticing this is what he was dealing with. And then it also made a lot of sense to what I was feeling from him and what I was showing him, and the energy reading trying to tell him was like, I'm feeling disconnected from you. The energy feels heavy. I'm having these dreams. So like it was all really showing up because of intuition and because of the energy that is how our intuition sort of interacts. It interacts with the energy. It interacts with the subtle energies around us. And so I wanted to just put that piece in because it helps to sort of tie in a lot of the things. And so back to the clip to almost like bring me back to like present so I could like handle what was happening. And then I just, sort of asked some questions, and then I just got emotional and walked off. And yeah, and then the process of our, we still had a few days of our trip left, which, in and of itself was more healing happened. But then when we got back home, like the process of separation and divorce started to unfold in that way. But the thing that was obviously very important for me as I did my healing through that process was the recognition of the fact that I was intuitively sensing that things were off. I was intuitively sensing that something was wrong. My dreams were telling me something is not right. I didn't mention this in the story, but my body was also my stomach was hurting. My stomach was tight. It was almost like I would try to get close to him and my stomach would block off, like my body would like shut down. So there were so many elements of my own system that were speaking to me energetically, emotionally, mentally, subconsciously, physically. My intuition was like up and it was saying something is not right here. But because I wasn't tuned into myself, because I wasn't tapped in enough to really trust it and just land in it, I kept invalidating it. And I kept coming back to, it must be me. It must be me. I must be the problem. The amount of times I was saying that to myself, it must be me. I must be the problem. And so I would go and try to sort out whatever it was that was coming up in me and then come back into the situation to experience no difference. It was really my intuition had been talking to me the entire time. And so now my relationship to my intuition is so valuable and so important. It's accessible to me. I know how it speaks to me. I receive from it. I trust it. I move in the direction of what it is saying to me because of how all of that aligned, all of that unfolded, even me speaking to the universe, and then 3 months later, all of this unfolding, it felt very guided, very aligned, very supported. And so I really value that relationship to myself. I really value that relationship to, the universe and to the support that we sort of elicit as we are aligned with that truth and that intuition. And I do think that our intuition is that channel. It is that expression of universe speaking through me, universe speaking through us, universe connecting to us, universe speaking to us. And so this is why in our Reiki together, I will be really focused on, I think one of my passions, one of my purposes is to align people to their intuition, to their inner knowing, to their sense of self, to be able to land in an experience of trusting yourself that allows you to then make aligned decisions, take aligned action, really go into your own inner wisdom and ask yourself the questions so that you're not experiencing the confusion and the invalidation and the experience of yourself as a problem when really you can see and sense and you're knowing that something is not right. So that's a story. I hope that's not too long. I feel really good about the fact that I can just sort of like share that and feel, super like open about it. But yeah, I have a lot of love and respect for my ex-husband now. It's been about 3 years since we've been separated. And my intuition and my relationship with myself has allowed me to understand and really be intentional with how we are building this new iteration of our relationship, which is co-parenting, which is a friendship. And my intuition as my guide has really been the catalyst for intentionally moving forward in a way that I want, because I am trusting myself along that way. That is all. I'm sending you so much love. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them. And yes, thank you for listening.